Every year, many gardeners look to sow their onions on Boxing Day here in the UK. Why? Well, because it's tradition. But we don't do that here. These onions were not sown on Boxing Day. They harvested mid-July. They're nice, large onions. In today's video, I'm going to explain why we don't sow our onions in December. Don't get me wrong, I love a gardening tradition. And on Boxing Day, escaping up to the polytunnel with a nice warm drink and a tray of compost sounds absolutely brilliant. Sowing onions on Boxing Day didn't start as advice for everyday gardeners. It actually goes back to exhibition growers that needed monster onions. They had heated greenhouses, grow lights, and lots of time. Any of you have ever been to the Mulled Autumn Show, you'll see some really monster vegetables there. To grow good onions, they need two things. They need strong light during early growth and a long growing season. But not that long. Onion bulbs swell as the days get longer in late spring. So really, as long as they're well grown by March, when you want to set them out into their final growing positions, they'll be fine. The first reason not to sow your onion seeds in December is that here in the UK, light levels are shocking in December. They're at the lowest that they will be for the year. And without the use of grow lights, you'll end up with very long, very lanky and weak seedlings. The grow lights are going to need to be on for 10 to 12 hours a day so that they get the adequate light levels that they're going to need. Otherwise, you're going to be spending your time just turning the seed tray around and around and around 3 to 4 times a day so that those seedlings are not stretching for the light on your windowsill. Second reason, they're going to need babysitting for the next 3 months or so. You're going to need to be watering them, making sure that they don't dry out, making sure that they don't rot. And of course, if life gets in the way, as it usually does, they're going to suffer. Reason 3 is that December sown onion seeds are more prone to damping off. Cold compost, low light levels, and a long time spent indoors, maybe in your kitchen, that is the perfect conditions for damping off to occur. Fourth reason is bolting. You would need to pull that onion immediately and use it as a green onion. It certainly won't store. It's unusual to have onions that will bolt on you when they are sown from seed. But if you ever have had them bolt on you, probably because you've sown them too early. December sown onions are quite prone to this. It'll be because they've become stressed. With the low light levels, they're stretching away to try to find the light on your windowsill. And they become really weak seedlings. Those seedlings never really recover. And it can often cause them to bolt a bit later on in the year. So when should you sow your onions? Well, anywhere between mid-January and mid-February is a really good time. And if you want the exact dates, the best time to sow your onions, our seed calendar has the optimum dates for you to sow your onions on, as well as all the other vegetables that you want to grow during the growing season. If you've watched our channel for the last few years, we try to get ahead as much as possible. Sometimes you can just push the boundaries too much. One thing you can get ahead with is making your Christmas stock so that you have an amazing gravy for the day. Once it's done, it's out the way with. Like most of you out there, I guess, the centerpiece to our Christmas day is a great turkey. And of course, to accompany that, we use all of the vegetables that we grow in our no-dig Norfolk garden. But to bring that all together, we need to make an amazing gravy. And to get ourselves ahead, what we do before the big day itself is to make our Christmas dinner stock. You'll find recipes on here for meat lovers, for vegetarians, And of course, as Mrs. W reminds me of my ever-expanding waistline, those amazing desserts. We make stocks all year round, but we always make this larger batch in preparation for our Christmas dinner, knowing that we can never have too much gravy for our large family. So to begin with, cook off 1 kilogram of chicken wings. The bones will go to make a lovely stock for the gravy on Christmas Day. But the meat that's on these...
We'll be making our meal for this evening. Shall I give you a hand with these?
Oh, yes, please.
Yes. They're just a little bit time consuming.
And one tip that Mrs. W always uses, and she always says to people, is that if you remove the skin from these and add them into the pot, there's actually quite a lot of flavour in those chicken skins.
I know some people wouldn't put the skin in, but I think that adds to it. That's my opinion.
Definitely. It's Mrs. W's birthday, actually, the other week, and she said to me, I really fancy some guinea fowl. And I always like to add something like this to our Christmas stock, because it just gives it a something little extra. Here it is, and all I'm going to do is to lay it into the tray. What you can do through the year if you're eating roast chickens is to keep your carcasses and actually just put them in the freezer and freeze them. You've got limited space within your freezer, you can just crush the carcass first and put it in a bag so that it lays a little bit flatter. It doesn't matter the shape that it is. It's more important that you have those carcasses to extract the flavour out of them. The next step to make this amazing Christmas stock is to roast these bones off. I'm reliably informed by Mrs. W that the oven has been set to 180 degrees Celsius. And these will go in for around about half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. We just want the bones to colour and start to go brown. And then we get on to the next process. There will be lots of lovely flavours that will be released. From our no-dig Norfolk garden, we have fresh leeks, carrots, celery that we're still growing, and onions that have come out of storage, as well as, in this case, we're going to be using elephant garlic. You can use regular garlic, it makes no difference. See here, I've got some quite small onions here. We don't always get huge onions. This is the majority of our onions actually look like. At a good size, we can just use half of those, or half of one of those for this stock. But we look to use up all the slightly smaller ones too, and we find that when it comes to stocks, a really good way of using those up. What I am going to do is just take the root off and then just slice it in half. And that's it. The skins and everything will go in. Why? Well, onions many years ago were actually used to dye clothes, a browny, yellowy colour. It does the same job with our stocks. So by using them like this is like a natural browning of your stock. Next, I'm going to put the elephant garlic in. I'm just going to crush it. In it goes, skin and everything. There's a lot more flavour in the vegetable skins than you actually think that will be extracted once we now start to make this stock. As for these carrots, all I do with these is to take the green top off. We don't bother with peeling them. Again, lots of flavour in there. When you're making stocks, you really want to aim to get things roughly the same size. This carrot wants to be nice and sort of thick, because we're going to be making this stock over the next 2.5 to 3 hours. And if you chop it too thinly, it will have disintegrated before it's had a chance to get going. This is a leek that we harvested some leeks the other day because Mrs. W made one of her lovely leek gratons. We had this one over. And that's something I find when we have vegetables that are left over, just add them into the stock pot. If you are enjoying this video, then don't forget to leave us a like. really helps us to reach far more people who can discover how we grow our amazing vegetables in our new Dig Norfolk garden and then use them to enhance everything that we cook. What you do want to do whenever you're going to be making a stock, however many boons and things you have, you need a pot that's going to be big enough to hold what you're going to be adding to it. So Saucepan has been with us for many years, hasn't it, Mrs. W?
It has, yes.
Really has.
Yes.
So we're just adding now all of the chicken bones and the guinea fowl bones to our vegetables that are already in this pot. Add 2 bay leaves from our bay leaf tree in the garden, a sprinkling of peppercorns, and a sprinkling of sea salt. And I think at this stage we don't need to add too much, do we? Because
no, I think
we can always adjust it later, can't we?
Yeah. What we're aiming for here is like a depth of flavour from these lovely bones and a gelatinous consistency at the end. So we can always add extra flavour when we come to actually make the gravy itself.
Need a tad more water.
Yes. Yeah. You need to sort of cover the bones with the water. Brilliant.
There we are. Give that a good mix together.
I'm taking over, aren't I?
It's the story of my life.
There we are.
What we're going to do is to bring this up to a boil, and then we shall turn it down to a very low simmer. And then from that point, we shall look at the clock, and initially we'll give it a good 2 to 2.5 hours.
With the lid on as well. Keep the lid on.
And we're looking for a nice gelatinous stock. If you want to scratch that gardening itch in December, there are far more better things that you could be doing and much, much more productive. Could be planning your beds. If it's not a very nice day, like it is today in our new Dig Norfolk garden, ideal time to sit down and be planning your beds and your crop rotations for the following season. Another thing that I like to do in December is to sit down with Mrs. W, perhaps a nice glass of mulled wine, by the fire, and we go through the seed catalogue and decide what we need to order seed-wise, but also to have a look what's new for the coming gardening growing season and decide which of those we want to give a try. Winter encompasses Christmas, so why not just enjoy that period with your family? We love it. All our family will be around, the grandchildren. It's a time for us all to be together and enjoy. There's plenty of time during January when we can get out there and begin sowing onions. So that's why I stopped sowing our onions on Boxing Day and now favour a mid to late January sowing. Leave us a comment. Do you sow your onions on Boxing Day? Or do you prefer the new year? Also, let us know if you have a favourite recipe for your Christmas stocks. If you enjoyed this video, do leave us a like. And as we go into the new gardening year, there's plenty that we shall be putting out there on our YouTube channel. So if you're not yet subscribed to our channel, why not hit that subscribe button? Onions are a great vegetable to grow. If you've never grown them before, or you're watching our channel for the first time because maybe you want to be able to grow your own vegetables, and onions are one of those, and you want to see the full cycle of how to grow onions from seed to table, watch this video next.